All right, so welcome to video 4 of 4. This is going to end up our guided notes on the digestive system and all the information that you guys need to know. We'll practice with a little bit more, but this is the end of sort of new information. So we left off last time where we talked about the process of digestion. So food digestion starts in the mouth with mechanical digestion, which is the chewing or masticating, just another word for chewing, of food to break it up into smaller particles. There's also chemical digestion that occurs in the mouth with salivary amylase, which is going to help to break down some of our carbohydrates. From the mouth, food is going to travel to the pharynx, which is just another word for your throat. It moves from the throat or pharynx down the esophagus, which is a muscular tube that leads to the stomach. It is going to travel down the esophagus using that peristaltic motion. So peristalsis, we remember, are those wave-like muscular contractions that are going to push food down through our body. In the stomach, our partially digested food is going to mix with hydrochloric acid, which is used to activate the enzyme pepsin. And pepsin is responsible for breaking down proteins, which begins in the stomach. And then from there, it is going to exit the stomach using the pyloric sphincter. So sphincters are round circular muscles that are going to cause openings and closings in the digestive system so they can control the movement of partially digested food through your body. So we're going to pick up with a couple questions about what goes on in your small intestines, which is where we left off. And we're going to finish the digestive system today, so the digestive process. So we'll ask a question about the small intestines right here. What is the function of villi and microvilli? Good, so hopefully you were able to remember that villi and microvilli are going to be small projections. So the surface of your small intestines is not perfectly flat like a piece of paper. That is, these small little projections or things that stick out of it. And those are the villi and microvilli. And what those do is they increase the surface area, which is going to help the small intestines do its job, which we'll talk about here. So this question asks, which organ does the digestion of all nutrients? And that should be Finnish, not Finch. So is it the mouth, small intestines, esophagus, or stomach? Good, so hopefully you were able to get it. Digestion ends in the small intestines. So the small intestines is going to be a place where a lot of enzymes are going to work on breaking down those last bits of our polymers down to monomers. This is where all nutrient absorption takes place, all nutrient absorption. So the small intestines has a lot of capillaries and a lot of the circulatory system worked around it. Once these polymers are broken down into monomers, they're going to move into the circulatory system, and the circulatory system acts like a highway system for your body. It's going to move those nutrients around so they can get to all your cells, keep you alive. So we're going to pick up, again, where we left off. So this is a diagram over here on the right-hand side. It shows you in the reddish color, not the dark red, but the reddish color sort of in the middle. We had talked about the esophagus leading into your stomach, and then the stomach leads into your small intestines. Now you'll notice that further right on your picture, you have two organs, which we're going to talk about right now. The very large reddish brown one is your liver. It's one of the largest organs in the human body. And then the smaller green one that's connected to it that shares a duct, which is just sort of a pipeline into the small intestines, that is going to be the gallbladder. So the liver and gallbladder, these are accessory organs. So remember, accessory organs are organs that don't actually touch any of the partially digested food. They're basically there to assist the process of digestion. And they do this by secreting chemicals and enzymes into the digestive tract or the GI tract to help with the process. So the liver produces bile, and it's going to secrete it into the small intestines. Bile is going to emulsify fats, which means break them up into tiny parts so they're more accessible to digestive enzymes. So it's going to help separate those glycerols and those fatty acid chains. That's what bile does. Bile is not an enzyme. Bile, like hydrochloric acid, is just a chemical. And we can notice this, and this helps us to remember that bile is not, because it doesn't have the ACE ending that we find with our enzymes. So the liver makes bile, secretes it through the duct, which is now shown in bright green and leading into, it's called the common bile duct, which you can see labeled on your diagram on the right-hand side. It's a pipeline, so it's going to be made by the liver. It's going to be piped into the small intestines where it's going to mix with partially digested food coming out of the stomach to help break down some of those fats. Excess bile is not going to get wasted. It's going to be stored in the gallbladder so it can be used later. So it's made in the liver, stored in the gallbladder. The pancreas is another accessory organ that is going to use a duct, so the same sort of pipeline system, to excrete enzymes into your small intestines. The pancreas is going to secrete a massive amount of enzymes. So we know the small intestines is where digestion finishes. It is where nutrient absorption takes place. So we talked about the liver's role by excreting bile to help break down fats. It is the pancreas that is going to secrete the rest of the enzymes that are going to break down all categories of foods. So let's talk about some enzymes that the pancreas makes. So they make proteases, and proteases are going to break down proteins, which we can get because ACE, ASE at the ending of that word, lets us know it's an enzyme, protein as in protein. Amylase, hopefully you remembered this when we talked about the mouth. Amylase is the name for the enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. Lipases, hopefully you can figure this one out. Lipase, those are your lipids. And the last one, nucleases. Good, hopefully you got this one. So nuclease, nucleic acids. So all categories of organic molecules, enzymes to break them down, come from the pancreas. They're excreted into the small intestines. The small intestines is where the last bit of those polymers or your big molecules are broken down into monomers. They travel into your circulatory system and move all around your body to be used by all your cells. Now, we know that when food is partially digested in the stomach, it's mixed with hydrochloric acid. So when it enters into the first part of your small intestines, and the first part of your small intestines is known as the duodenum, it is going to be acidic. Part of what the pancreas also does is it secretes basic solutions to neutralize those acids. So the stomach is going to be slightly acidic. The environment in your small intestines is going to be slightly basic, so that when these two environments collide at the first part of your small intestines, it neutralizes. And that food solution is going to end up right around 7, so right around neutral. Now, once our food moves through that long path through our small intestines, the entire time it's moving through, enzymes are breaking down polymers to small, small molecules. The circulatory system is absorbing and traveling nutrients around our body. And by the time it gets to the end, most of those nutrients have been pulled out and we're just looking at waste. Not all. There are some nutrients that will get missed. We're not 100% efficient in our digestive system, but the vast majority will have gotten pulled out by the circulatory system to be used by our cells. So now we're left with waste. So we're left with stuff that was brought into our bodies that didn't get used, and we need a way to excrete it. And this is where your large intestines comes in. Your large intestines is going to take that very liquidy material that has been made, because think about all the liquids we've added to your food. We added lots of enzymes. We added saliva to it. We added hydrochloric acid. It is very, very liquidy. Now, when you go to the bathroom, you obviously know that unless you're sick, your feces are not liquid. So this is what the job of your small intestines is. So your small intestines, as it travels from the small intestines into the large intestines, the last part of it is extracting vitamins, water, and ions back into the blood. And it's going to solidify that very liquidy substance that has made it through its small intestines into a solid fecal matter that then gets excreted. So it gets stored in the rectum and then excreted through the anus. And that's sort of the waste product of digestion. All right, let's check in, see how we're doing. So which organ begins lipid digestion? Good, hopefully you got that. It's the small intestine. So carbohydrates begin in the mouth, proteins begin in the stomach, nucleic acids, and lipids are going to begin in the small intestines. True or false? Bile is an enzyme. Good, hopefully you got this. Bile, like hydrochloric acid, is a chemical. It's not an enzyme. So no, that is false. 3, bile is made in the blank and stored in the blank. Hopefully you're able to remember that bile is made in the liver and it's stored in the gallbladder. So there's that duct or pipe that comes from your liver and your gallbladder, travels into that first part of your small intestines. Bile is a chemical that's going to break down lipids. So bile is the chemical that helps to break down lipids by emulsifying or breaking apart those fatty acid chains. Nucleases, proteases, lipases, and amylases are all made in the... Good, that is your pancreas that they are made in. And last one, chyme is the liquid material that is the combination of digested food, enzymes, and chemicals. The water is removed from chyme to form feces in the... Those are your large intestines. All right, now you're going to work on completing the summary of digestion on the last page of your video notes.